Hi there, I'm Steven Van Alstine. I'm Vice President of the Canadian Payroll Association. So the Canadian Payroll Association is the world's oldest payroll association. We were founded in December of 1977 when a group of payroll professionals got together to talk about an issue that they were all facing with government reporting. So that group of individuals got together to talk about that government relations issue, also to talk about educating and training payroll professionals. And here we are 40 years later, representing payroll professionals in Canada and those that have Canadian payrolls, and really speaking about all of the issues that are relevant to Canadian payroll practitioners, and speaking of, on their behalf through advocacy and education related issues. We've long espoused raising the profile of the professional, the payroll professional within Canadian business and within business in general. So when we look at education, I am the Vice President of Education, and I've been with the association for just over 22 years. I think of education from the perspective of certification, so certifying payroll professionals, and we're going to talk about that in a minute, but also education includes professional development. And our organization has a very robust professional development offering, which includes, again, based on the start of our organization 40 years ago, bringing together professionals to learn about the basics of payroll, and that's advanced to the present day, where we have 21 in-person offerings related to payroll from a professional development perspective, everything from terminations to taxable benefits to special payments to completing specific reporting requirements for the government. Back in 2005, we started our webinar series, and that's been a very popular learning opportunity for payroll professionals with shorter bites of payroll-related information. And then more recently, within the last 3 to 4 years, we've started advancing our professional development online, recognizing that payroll professionals are very busy and quite often can't get out of their organizations for large amounts of time. So having online offerings, again, enables us to chunk the learning down into modules or learning bites that better suit the payroll professionals' time and ability to get out of the office or utilize their time to better allow for learning or education. So absolutely, we have 2 certifications with the Canadian Payroll Association. So we did research back in 2002, 2003, and what we discovered through that research, because we've been offering certification for a number of years, but we found that there were 2 really distinctive roles that payroll plays within an organization. One is at the practitioner or administration level. So we have our PCP or Payroll Compliance Practitioner level certification. We have currently about 14,000 individuals that hold that certification. And the other is the Certified Payroll Manager certification. So again, payroll from the managerial perspective. So large organizations that have large payroll departments that have at least 3 people within the department, and in some cases can have as many as 40 to 50 people in the payroll department. Those are managed commonly by a payroll manager. And so that certification really looks beyond the practicing, the sort of annual payroll cycle, and looks at managing the payroll function and everything that's involved with that, from decision making to implementing best practice to looking at project management, especially if you are doing an implementation, to strategically managing the department and all of those aspects. So that certification includes all of those components. So this is maybe not specific to Canada, but we do like to point out that payroll ordinarily represents the largest business expense for an organization. And it can be anywhere between 40 to 70% of an organization's operational expense. So it's very significant. And again, when you look at the volume of, or the magnitude of dollar value that represents, It's close to $1 trillion that Canadian payroll practitioners are paying to working Canadians. Again, a very significant amount. But of that, a good chunk goes to the federal government and some of the provincial governments as well, close to $300 billion. And what that means is that a significant amount of the work done by payroll practitioners helps to generate the revenue that is necessary for government to offer all of the services that it offers to its workforce and its Canadians, the individuals that live within Canada. The other thing that we've got, if we look at what is a really interesting requirement, is that payroll practitioners produce 10 million records of employment on an annual basis. And those forms are important if an individual is going to be making a claim for what we call employment insurance benefits. So if an individual becomes unemployed because there's been a shortage of work, a layoff, termination, whatever the case may be, those forms are important in terms of triggering the steps that are taken in order to be able to claim employment insurance benefits. I would say Canada, we have some efficiencies that have been recognized through payroll administration, through time, through working with government. But we also are a country that is made up of provinces and territories. So as a result of that, there is some provincial and territorial requirement to payroll as well. So when you factor in our federal legislation, our provincial and territorial legislation, and everything that sort of has a tie to the payroll responsibility, there are over 200 legislative and regulatory requirements in Canada. So that in and of itself makes it can make it very complex. The one unique thing about Canada, because we do have some efficiencies, again, our Canada Revenue Agency, our basic federal government department that withholds all of the statutory deductions, is a gatekeeper for many provincial bodies, for many provinces in terms of statutory withholding. So there's efficiency there. But for those organizations that have Quebec payrolls, that legislation makes it more complex because they have a separate agency that withholds all of the statutory deductions for that particular jurisdiction. So that could make it more complex. The other thing is that Canada has different reporting frequencies from a government perspective, and that can be based on a particular statutory withholding or a particular statutory requirement. So just those different reporting frequencies can make things complex. Now, there is a global payroll complexity survey that is done fairly regularly, and Canada commonly ranks sort of in the middle when it comes to complexity. For example, on a scale of 10, we rank a 5.07, and if we just draw a comparison to our neighbor to the south, the United States, they rank a 5.78. So there are certain states that have more complex requirements in comparison to Canada. But as I say, we sort of fall in the middle of the road from a complexity perspective.